What's good, YouTube? Welcome to the first episode of Tech Bros. In honor of Back to School Month, me and my brother are giving our HBCU experience. So without further ado, let's get into it.
We get started, we just want to emphasize that these videos are based on our personal experiences. The world is ever changing, and HBCUs are constantly adapting to those changes. But we hope that these videos will give you some insight into the HBCU experience. And with that being said, our first segment drops tomorrow. So hope you guys are excited, and we'll talk soon.
I'm Jarvis,
I'm Jared.
and
And
we're
we're this video, we're talking about why we joined an HBCU. And for me personally, I joined for several different reasons. One, I had a full ride and just really, when you look into the funding of everything, it's very convenient to go somewhere where everything or almost everything is covered. So that was one reason. The second reason I went was because I knew that I already had connections there with my brother going there ahead of me. We went to Alabama A&M University, and it was just such a benefit to have connections there already ahead of time. And I'll let Jarvis go into why he joined Alabama A&M next.
right. So I joined Alabama A&M for a lot of the same reasons. I had full tuition, which means my tuition was paid for. I still had to pay for room and board, and my books, everything else, but my tuition was paid in full, and it was just the best opportunity for me financially. Um, some of the other options I was considering, University of Alabama, Georgia Tech, of course, from being from Mobile, Alabama, everyone kind of considers South Alabama, but at the end of the day, Alabama A&M just made the most sense for me. What were some of the things you expected going into it that before you got there? What are just some of the things you expected from hearing about HBCUs beforehand?
Yeah, so before I came to Alabama A&M, just from hearing about your experience and hearing other people talk about HBCUs, I felt like there was just going to be this big accepting culture within our community. A lot of people go out to predominantly white institutions, PWIs, and they talk about, well, a lot of Black students talk about how they just don't really feel like they fit in. It's hard to find your crowd. And then even finding a crowd, if you hang out with other Black students, you just feel like what you it's not really your crowd. You're just hanging out because you are the Black students. And I feel like going to an HBCU, I was gonna really enjoy having the diverse community, and people would talk about how, you have all these different sectors of Black people at HBCUs, whether it's, the nerds, the geeks, the athletes, the party people, the stand on business people. You have all these different segments of the Black community at one place in one location where you can be the majority and enjoy all aspects of Black culture. So that was probably my biggest expectation going in, and I feel like that definitely was fulfilled and when I came. But I'll pass it back to you, Jarvis.
Yeah, and for me, I didn't really have any expectations. I went in with a completely open mind just to see, experience things without any bias. Yeah, I will say that I did have it wasn't really an expectation, it was more of a concern. One of my biggest concerns about going to a HBCU was that the real world, the real world doesn't incorporates a bunch of different races, a bunch of different backgrounds. I kind of figured that, well, if I go to college for these 4, 5 years and I'm very limited to, African Americans, then when I figured I would struggle socially when I got out and had, entered the real world again. But honestly, that was not a problem for me. If anything, I feel like it kind of enhanced it. It just made me more proud to be Black, and it made me more confident in who I am as a person. And I mean, we'll get into it a little more later, but I think that's one of the biggest pros about going to a HBCU. I was a computer science major, and I picked that major because I kind of had a few different interests. I was considering computer science, physical therapy, psychology, business. I kind of had education. I kind of had a few different interests, and I just kind of one day looked at my interests and said, which one of these can make me the most money in a career? And I went with computer science. And so that's kind of how I ended up picking my major. And do you have any stories like that, Jared? Like, how did you end up picking your major? Was it something you always knew you wanted to do, or how did that go?
Yeah. So I always knew I wanted to build something. I didn't know if I wanted to build like streets, roads, or if I wanted to build houses or what. But I always loved putting like Legos together, doing puzzles. And as I got older, that developed into more advanced things like model remote control airplanes that I started doing in middle school. And I always enjoyed that. So I knew I wanted to create something. And with that, I kind of was swayed between computer science and mechanical engineering. I know, Jarvis, you had your experience with computer science. And so there was a networking thing there where I would already know kind of professors who I was working with and would already have some experience there just through talking to you. But then there was also the idea of like, what will I enjoy in the long term? And I felt like mechanical engineering was just a better fit for me with computer science. And this is wrong. It can be like this, but this idea that I had in my head was wrong. But I thought I would be sitting at a desk programming my entire career. And while it can be that, that's the software engineering route. There's much more to computer science than that. And with mechanical engineering, I feel like I would be more, working with machines, working with the technology that goes out into the field and creates stuff. And yeah, I was going to be sitting at a desk doing 3D modeling or doing analysis work, but I feel like I was going to have a good mixture of both, sitting at a desk and being in the field. And honestly, that can be true and it cannot be true, but that's a conversation for another day. When we talk about mechanical engineering as a whole. But yeah, that was my experience and how I ended up coming up with mechanical engineering.
Let's talk about some of the on-campus experiences. Let's talk about some of the organizations we joined. As I started off, I joined Alabama A&M had a bunch of different organizations. And another thing about HBCUs, or I assume all HBCUs do it, Alabama A&M did, they are really big, really heavy on community service. Their goal is to make you as an individual as promotable as possible. So not only are you going to get a degree, you have to have community service hours done too. And you can do that by joining a number of these organizations. I joined College Democrats, which allowed me to go out and help campaign for local Democrats in the Huntsville area. I joined Men of America Nurturing Ushering Progress, Man Up, Incorporated. And our whole mission was going out into the city of Huntsville and mentoring high school kids and kind of, teaching them how to be respectable men growing when they grow up. I also joined the Computer Science Club, which our, our whole thing was trying to promote the education within the computer science field. And I spent some time in NSBE, National Society of Black Engineers, and what we were responsible. We went out to conferences and we were able to it was really a networking organization. Could go out to different conferences, find internships, find co-ops, and just network with a bunch of different student organizations, NSBE organizations, a bunch of different companies, a bunch of different government organizations, just people who were looking to hire Black engineers. Yeah, I also spent some time in the honors program, and that's where I got a lot of my community service in. I'll let Jared talk more about that because he spent a lot more time in the honors program than I did. But yeah, those are just some of the organizations that I was a part of. And do you want to talk about some of your organizations and what you did in them, Jared?
Yeah. So as Jarvis mentioned, I was very involved with the honors program all 4 years of my time at the university. And definitely I don't think I got as involved as Jarvis with other organizations. I kind of spent some time here and there, but my dedication was in the honors program where I served as the parliamentarian for 1 year, new member rep, and the historian. And in the honors program, I wasn't only getting community service like, within the university, just like serving those roles, I'm serving the people in the honors program. But I had several opportunities to go to the local elementary school to do food drives, go help out with like videos for, the city or something. Like people have those opportunities. And I see it all the time, just to actually get out beyond the university and go into the community that's close by to help out. And I also, my freshman year, helped start Vex Robotics at the university. I felt like it was a needed organization because leaving high school, a lot of like STEM focused high schools have a robotics organization, and Alabama A&M didn't have that. I don't know if it was just because we were kind of opening back up after so many things were shut down because of COVID or not, but it seemed like there was just this big jump between high school robotics to form something called Formula SAE, which is like a F1, a college aged F1 kind of style. And that was way more advanced than like high school robotics. So I feel like that middle ground was very needed. So I helped start that up, spent 2 years there. I also was in NSBE a little bit, but I wasn't very active. And there's other organizations that I joined. I joined College Democrats for a year or two, spent some time there. And there are several others that I can't really remember because the most of my time was spent with the honors program and helping out there, doing interviews, serving in so many different areas. Yeah, I think that's a good segue into talking about opportunities though. And so I'll let you share about like different opportunities you had, because you were in the organizations.
Yeah, so for me, I don't it was a very interesting time because right when I started getting really involved in these organizations, that's when COVID hit and shut everything down. So I could do a little bit here and there, but I didn't really get to experience the organizations to the full extent of what I could have had COVID not happened. But I've had a lot of good opportunities, especially with college Democrats. I had the opportunity to go to different conferences, travel, went to New Orleans. I've come up to DC. Like I just had the opportunity to travel and go to different Democratic conventions, meet a bunch of different Democratic leaders in these areas. And they would talk about their plans for how to move things forward for the Democratic Party. Hi YouTube, Jarvis from the future here. Going back editing this video, there are some things I did that I actually forgot about with college Democrats. So I'm just gonna go ahead and throw this in here. Yes, I was able to go to different Democratic conferences and listen to their plans to move the Democratic Party forward. I was able to be on campaigns for Democratic leaders in the Huntsville, Alabama region. I was able to help register people to vote on campus. That was probably one of my favorite things that we did. We were able to organize A&M to the polls, or we would get our school's buses to take us to polling sites. I was even able to partner with Just Water, which is Jaden Smith's water company, in order to help put more voting locations in the Huntsville area, because at the time we were fighting against closing voting locations in Black areas specifically. So I was able to partner with Just Water and help keep some of those open and also help create new ones. It was an amazing experience, honestly. And through the honors program, I was able to do a lot of beautification projects. I've done several campus cleanups. There was at one point where our honors college got split in half. Half of us did like a park cleanup, and the other half, I believe they went and built a wheelchair ramp at a local facility. And I was able to participate in banquets, soup kitchens, different things like that. I had a lot of great experiences with the honors program. And through Man Up, although I wasn't able to really go through and fulfill our mission per se because of COVID, I wasn't able to actually go out into the high schools and the middle schools and mentor the young men there. I was able to participate in different community calls that we hosted. We would talk about different things affecting the Black community and just how to deal with it. Think kind of Jubilee, but before Jubilee was big. We would talk about things like we would invite the community out to be on this call, and we would talk to, let's just say one time we talked to a police officer, and we talked about the different training they go through and why police violence is so high in the Black community. We talked about what makes a man in terms of maturity level. What can you expect a man to do? What kind of business should a man handle? Things like that. Even though COVID kind of dimmed the experience for me a little bit, especially on the Man Up side, we still made do with what we had. I was still able to have a good time, and I feel like we still had an impact in the community at the time. Yeah, back to the video. I had a good time in the organizations while I was there. Like I said, I just couldn't really spend a lot of time to the extent that I would have had COVID not happened. But I will say those organizations offered me opportunities to get leadership experience, which I could then add to my resume, and I could go out to these companies when I was looking for internships and say, because companies are going to ask you about your leadership. They're going to ask you about your technical skills. They're also going to ask you about your leadership. And I could say, hey, I've led this group. I've done this. I've been in a soup kitchen. I've passed out food to the home. Like, I've done all this kind of things throughout these organizations. And companies really love to see that. It shows them that you're a leader, and they are looking for leaders to come into their organizations, and they're looking for people that will make their organizations look good. And they know that you are one of them. So what about you, Jared? What are some opportunities that you had?
Yeah, I'll definitely dive into it. Like you said, that I was coming in when things were ramping up from COVID. So it was a slow build up, but or actually it was actually a pretty quick build up. Um, but going to conferences, so I went to New York with the Thurgood Marshall College Fund, and I went to DC twice with the Thurgood Marshall College Fund. And their whole kind of, I don't want to say their mission verbatim or anything like that, but to my understanding, their goal is to get publicly funded HBCU students opportunities, whether that's scholarships, leadership experience, networking experiences. So those 3 times that I went with them was called their annual Leadership Institute. And that's where they bring the best talent from HBCUs to one location and have them meet with companies, network. A whole lot of recruiting happens there. People get offers on the spot or they get them sometime later down the line. But it really just, boosts your network and your ability to go out and talk and meet all these people and establish those relationships outside of your university's career fair. You should go to the career fair, and that's great. There's a lot of opportunities there, but you should also branch out and look at all these other things. And that's what the NSBE conferences, the SWE conferences, that's what those also do. I'm glad you pointed out that, like, being a part of these organizations, you definitely have the opportunity to build up your leadership skills. This day and age, I don't know how it was back in the day, but I know for sure this day and age, companies want to see that you are a leader in your community or that you're able to follow. There's the statement that the best leaders know how to follow first. And it's definitely something that companies look for, especially, I can't speak for the other recruitment situations, but when I was being recruited from Leadership Institute, that was what they were looking for the most. They saw you took the classes, they wanted to make sure you had technical knowledge, but they really wanted to get to know who you were as a person. Can you work well with other people? Because there's so much collaboration in the industries today, at least in engineering and computer science. There's so much collaboration, and they don't want to lock you in a room by yourself to let you do work for 8 hours a day. That's just not a sustainable. Yeah. That's not a sustainable way to do work. They want to make sure you're collaborating with people, bouncing ideas off of each other and learning together. So it's definitely important to have those community service experiences and get involved in leadership and get involved in just being a member so that you can know how to be led, and definitely enjoyed that experience, got all of that. And I think it's a lot easier to do it I won't say in college in general, but in our HBCU environment, it's a lot easier to build up those experiences, because once you get to the real world and you start paying bills and looking at taxes and all these other things, it's hard to find as many opportunities, at least starting off. It's like you have to rebuild that network and rejoin organizations and really establish yourself there at whatever your new location is. So definitely encourage everyone to do that, and while you're in college, so that you have that experience.
Right. It's also easier in college because they're all there. Like, they're all the organizations are on campus. All the organizations are actively recruiting people to join. Yeah. Once you get into the real world, they don't actively recruit you. You have to go out and find them, and you have to apply or do whatever you have to do to join. And it's just a lot harder to get involved after college. So I definitely encourage everyone to take advantage of that opportunity, because one, I feel like it just makes the college experience. Yes, you can stay in your room, do homework, and you can do that. That's great. You should do that. But you should focus on your studies. But there's also a social aspect of it too that I feel like a lot of people don't put enough emphasis on. Go out and join these organizations, you'll have a lot more fun. You'll network a lot more. You'll meet a lot more people. It'll open doors for more opportunities, and it'll make you look great on a resume so that it can help you get a job afterwards. Um, let's talk about some of the challenges we had. Did you have any challenges or any regrets, something you would do different? Just, yeah, challenges and regrets, we can call this.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, I think some challenges, it's natural with college. You're gonna face all of them. I'll just kind of like list some of those out, but you're gonna face this wherever you go. Dealing with housing will always be a challenge, regardless of where you go. The challenges may be different, but it's still a challenge regardless. Financial, getting in contact with financial aid will always be a challenge. Regardless of where you go. And I'll say another one that will always be a challenge is you're always gonna find yourself in a place where you might end up being the only person who's really taking some like a assignment serious and lead it. So you might end up carrying some people. And you might end up being carried. Like that is something that happens to almost everybody at some point in their college experience. So just throwing it out there that if you go to an HBCU and you experience this, know that you're probably going to experience this everywhere else. I will say that something more specific to the HBCU experience, you mentioned it in another segment, was the idea of I am surrounded by Black people and I am in this culture where, we are the majority. So when you go out into the real world, some people do benefit from it in the way that you have, and that you felt more comfortable in your Blackness and being able to express yourself in that. But some people do have that culture shock of, oh, I can't be who I was at my HBCU because they and the people outside interpret it differently than the people at my HBCU did, right. Or something similar to that. And so that I didn't really face much of that, but I know that that's an issue that some people face. And I'll say again, another issue that I didn't really experience, this isn't with HBCUs specifically, it's more so about smaller institutions rather than larger institutions. When you're in a smaller campus, it's really easy to get a reputation. So if you start off on the wrong foot, it is really hard to get out of that reputation. Mm-hmm. And if you start off on the right foot, then it's easier to establish. So it's like it's a not a double-edged sword. It's like two sides of a coin. You either start off really well and it's easier to keep building, or you can start off slowly or poorly and it's hard to fight out of that hole. So just be wary of that as you look into HBCUs. How big is it, and how easy is it to get those reputations? But I think the last thing I'll say is, in the Black community, we like to celebrate, we like to party, and some universities like to party a lot more than others.
Yeah.
And so you talked about staying on top of your studies. That's really important. And depending on which HBCU you go to, there's a lot of pressure to go out and party, even when you're not on top of your studies. And so that's another thing to just be aware of. That was something that I would say I didn't struggle with, but it was something that was like, bro, man, I really feel like I'm missing out because I'm constantly in the books, constantly focused on, what's next for me. And I'm not spending that much time to really be like, hey, I need to enjoy this party, go to this party, because there's so many of them and you're going to miss out, and it's okay to miss out. Try your best not to have FOMO. But yeah, definitely that would be some of the challenges that I've seen people face or that I've faced.
Yeah, for sure. Some of You kind of hit on all of mine actually. Financial aid, dealing with that, the financial office as a whole. Of course, housing. The housing thing started becoming an issue while I was there. Um, and that's when we started seeing them trying to encourage higher educated students, junior senior year, to move out, find apartments so that they could keep the freshmen and the sophomores on campus. um, and and to be fair, A&M has made efforts to kind of mitigate this. They have apartment deals now. They've tried to buy out other schools to get more space for their students. So A&M's trying their best. But yeah, regrets, 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 regrets. Um, okay, I mean, I guess it's kind of easy for me to say it, like I kind of spoke to earlier. Enjoy the social aspects. Enjoy the social aspect of college. For me, I kind of was like my freshman, my sophomore year, kind of to myself, and I had my little friend group, but I wasn't really trying to go out and explore all my options with different organizations, go out to different parties. I wasn't trying to do all of that my freshman, my sophomore year. By the time I wanted to do it my junior year, that's kind of when COVID hit. Everything kind of got shut down or very limited, or like it just changed. So definitely take advantage of the opportunities. But again, also know, stay on top of your studies. There are going to be more parties. There are going to be more. You don't have to go to every one.
Yeah, definitely not.
You do not have to go to every one. It's okay.
Yeah.
Also, I'll say take all of the opportunities that come your way, all the good opportunities. And don't say no to a good opportunity. You kind of have this a lot of people talk about it in the workforce. They don't really talk about it in college. Imposter syndrome, saying, oh, I'm not good enough to do this, I'm not good enough to do that. If it's a good opportunity and it falls in your lap, take it. I don't care if you think you're good enough or not. I have a personal experience, I'll go ahead and say. My freshman year, we had a Google recruiter coming to teach our class. He was teaching us how to program in Python. I was one of the top students in the class. But because it was, a basic Python 101 kind of class, we didn't really go that deep into it. He's a Google recruiter. Google was coming to the career fair. He wanted me to apply and interview to intern with Google. Didn't feel like I was good enough. Didn't feel like I knew enough. I mean, I knew what he taught me in the class, but I also knew there's way more to programming than what I learned in this one class I have 3 days a week. So I felt like I wasn't good enough. I dodged that opportunity. Well, I passed on that opportunity just to interview. I might not have got it, but even if I didn't, I still would have. Best case scenario, I would have got it. I would have had the chance to intern with Google, and I could have seen where that went for me. But worst case, I would have not got it. I could have had more experience being interviewed, and I would have known some idea of what interview questions will be asking me by whatever organization. And that's just something that would have helped prepare me more in the future. So even if I failed in that experience, I could have learned from it, and it would have helped me later on too. I did end up landing an internship working for the government. I actually failed my first interview there too. And the reason I failed my first interview was because I didn't know what to expect going into an interview, which that Google one would have showed me. And luckily, I knew a guy, he pulled some strings, he was able to get me a second interview, and I passed the second one. But, you can't grow as a person if you don't fail. And so don't be afraid of failure. If an opportunity falls in your lap, take it, whether you think you're going to fail or not. Best case, it works out. Worst case, it doesn't, but you learn from it and you get to move on.
Yeah, I definitely like what you said about, take advantage of whatever opportunities fall in your lap. And sometimes I don't say I don't like to say I regret something. I feel like I make the best decisions most of the time with the information that I have.
Right.
But something that I do think about a lot is, there's opportunities that were in front of me that I might have started the application for, and I just never finished it because I wanted my extra sleep or, something like that. And take care of yourself, but try to balance your time where you are able to, apply for all these opportunities and really explore, because college is the time to explore, and it's the time to, make what I'm gonna call educated mistakes, where where you are exploring, opportunities to benefit yourself, and then you might find out, oh, this isn't for me. It's not really a mistake, or if you find out that you don't get into that program, it's not really a mistake. It's more of a, I tried this out, it didn't work out, but I learned this about me, or I learned this about this company, or I learned this about this organization. This is the time to figure that out and really find where you're at. And so that's one thing that I really loved about my HBCU was I had a lot of those opportunities. I saw a lot of it, and it's like once you get involved in one organization, you find out about all these other organizations, and you can start in scholarships and things like that, and you can start, exploring more and more. Something else that I think about pretty often of like, should I have done this differently, was, getting educated on financial literacy. That's something I'm taking more time to do now, and really start understanding like 401k plans. How does it work? Like I did a little bit of that, but I definitely could have done more. And starting to really, just figure out all of the stuff that you should know as an adult when it comes to like retirement, healthcare, insurance, all that stuff.
Stuff school doesn't teach you.
So, yeah. So that's stuff that I think about, like, oh, should I have explored this more? Because I was definitely thinking about it, but I was like, man, I just got all this school stuff.
Yeah.
And then the last thing I'll kind of like say that I think about pretty often is like the dating aspect. I didn't really date a whole lot. I tried to, but a lot of stuff just didn't happen, didn't work out. And I go back and forth on whether, I dedicated too much time to pursuing people and in a romantic light. And I feel like one thing that I feel like I could have changed was just, pursuing people to hang out, just to hang out. Don't even think about dating, just let stuff happen. But that's one other thing that I think about a lot, is like, I pursue people. Sometimes I am pursuing them in that I'm just trying to get to know this person. Most of the time, that's what it was. But there were times where it's like, oh, I want to date this person, but the vibes just are not vibing. And you don't want to, waste time pursuing someone who doesn't want you back. I feel like it should be both people trying to pursue each other. And that is, I think that's all I really want to say on that. It's just consider that as you develop relationships, and think about that not just for romantic relationships, but for mentorship relationships, coming from the mentee perspective or the mentor perspective. Think about it in friendships and you should always bother your teachers. Whether they want you to or not, go bother your teachers. Because you need to get what you need to get done. But yeah, just think about that in all the relationships that you develop in school.
That's really good. It's good advice. How do you feel like Alabama A&M prepared you for your career and where you are now?
I feel like Alabama A&M definitely prepared me in so many ways. I think it was like it's kind of like a two-sided thing. There's like Alabama A&M prepared me, but I also prepared myself by pursuing things at Alabama A&M.
Right.
I feel like a lot of people who say they weren't prepared, they didn't really pursue anything outside of A&M. They went to their class, or might not have gone to their classes. They enrolled in classes, and they might have gone, they might not have gone, but they felt like the school part was it. And they didn't get involved in the activities outside of school. They didn't develop the networking relationships. They didn't go to the financial literacy workshops or the, building your brand workshops, or they didn't go to conferences. Like, there's so much to get involved with that I have a really hard time believing that you weren't able to find something that would have helped you develop for the real world better. And so just going back to the idea of taking advantage of the opportunities that are in front of you, whether you think you're good enough for it or not, go see. People will like you, people won't like you, and just go see where you can fit in, where you can make an impact. And that is like I feel like that is like the biggest factor in like what makes your college experience a worthwhile experience, or what makes it like, oh, I just went to school and got this piece of paper of a degree and that's it. So I think that's what I have to say on that.
You want to talk about some of your internships and what you did?
Oh yeah, sure. Love to talk about that stuff. So my first internship, we got my mentor gave me this scholarship that he wanted me to apply for that turned out to be so much more than a scholarship. It's called the Patty Gray Smith Fellowship, and their whole mission is to get Black students their first internship in aerospace. So applied to that, had no idea if I was going to make that or not, but ended up getting in. I think I was one of 43 students that year, and it was the second year that they had done it.
At A&M or across the country?
Across the country, across all schools, not just HBCUs. I think it was me and a girl from Howard, who were the only two HBCU students there. But yeah, there were people from Georgia Tech, people from Embry-Riddle, which is a big aerospace university or aerospace focused university. Probably people from Purdue, all over the place. But one of 43, and that was a huge networking and a huge boost to everything, because not only was it an internship, it was a fellowship experience. And in the fellowship, we had a summit, like a 3-4 day summit where we got to meet industry leaders and meet with each other in person. So just a great experience all together. We'll probably have a video about that another day, but that got me my first internship at a company called ABL Space Systems in Los Angeles area. It's called El Segundo, California, which is right outside of Los Angeles. So that was my first internship. The second internship was at Capital One, and I got that through the Thurgood Marshall College Fund. It was really cool how it worked out. I ended up getting it through a mentorship program that I was doing while I was at my first internship. And that just kind of turned into, again, utilizing those opportunities and applying, whether you know you're whether you know you are capable of it or not. It turned into a software engineering internship in Virginia, McLean, Virginia, with Capital One. And kind of just to touch on it, I wanted to explore computer science fields just to see, even though I didn't think I wanted to do it, but I just wanted to verify. So that was kind of, again, me exploring, taking those opportunities. And then my third internship was with Caterpillar Incorporated in Peoria, Illinois. I got that through the Thurgood Marshall College Fund's Leadership Institute conference, and just really loved the company culture that I had experienced at that conference for two years at that point. And I wasn't sure. That was my most unsure internship acceptance because I wasn't sure. I didn't particularly want to go there. I didn't know anything about the company for real, but they had offered me twice, and it was the best kind of offer that I was looking for when it came to what I wanted to experience. I had experienced the West Coast, I had experienced the East Coast. I was from the South, and so it was like I wanted a Midwest experience, and they had a good mixture of that mechanical engineering and software interest. So I wanted to explore, how weigh it out. How much mechanical engineering do I want, and how much software do I want? So just the job role and location kind of fit really well for me, and the company seemed like they had really good culture. So I came to Caterpillar. I loved it. Got a full-time offer, and came right back in a different team, but still love it, still enjoying it, still in Peoria, Illinois, exploring the opportunities they have within the company and in the city. So definitely enjoying my time.
It's good to hear. For me, I was able to I was able to get an internship working for the government, like I mentioned before. And I can't really talk about a lot of the projects that we did since it is the government, but I can talk about how I was a computer science major. I had this idea that I wanted to be the software developer. And then when I got my first internship, I realized no, I actually would rather do anything else. So I kind of went around, tried to find my lane. I kind of fell into cybersecurity. I spent some time as a cryptography researcher. I spent some time as a data analyst, some time as a security engineer, and I just kind of grew my love for cybersecurity from there. And so, yeah, man, and I had a co-op. So the difference between an internship and a co-op is that internships happen during the summer. Co-ops happen during school semester. So I was going back and forth. One semester I'll be in school. The next semester I'll be off at work. The next semester I'll be at school. Then I'll be off at work again. And so it pushes your graduation back, but you have constant opportunities to come in and a new job role, learn a whole new set of skills with the same company, and you're guaranteed a job after. So, that's just something to consider too, internships versus co-ops and which one would be right for you.
Yeah. And I'll also kind of add to that with co-ops. Different companies do co-ops a little bit differently. So at Caterpillar, they do something called parallel co-ops where you can work with Caterpillar virtually, depending on the team, where during the semester. So it might be like 10 hours a semester, and then come back for internships. So you aren't doing that back and forth. So before you agree to a co-op, definitely make sure you understand the terms of what's going on, how it will affect your college experience, and definitely just look into that. I just wanted to point that out. And point out externships. I don't know much about externships. I know they exist, but that is something for maybe another video where we can do more research on that. But I know they exist, so that's another opportunity that people can explore.
I have never heard of that, externship. But
Yeah.
one thing I do want to say though, if you're on scholarship, make sure you tell your college to freeze your scholarship when you go to these internships or co-ops, because you're going to come back, you're not going to have your scholarship anymore. They're going to think you like dropped out or graduated or whatever, and they're going to start that process of you repaying student loans. So make sure you tell them to freeze your scholarship. That is an issue that I would tell them, but that's one of my issues I would have with the financial aid department the whole time I was there, arguing to keep my scholarship once I got back. But yeah, I think we did a pretty good general overview of our experience. Do you have anything else you want to say, Jared?
No, I think we are good. Yeah, I think we're good.
Awesome. So that's it for us today.